The most cunning lies of the enemy are so easy to believe when you're the most vulnerable, when it looks and feels like all hope is completely lost and faith is nowhere to be found. In that hopeless state of mind, you feel in deep despair that God has turned his back on you, thinking he must be mad or he really doesn't care. It feels like he's ignoring you or just overlooked you, and you feel completely rejected. Any hope that you held on to, you're wondering if it might have been a figment of your imagination because it's been so long in the same cycle. You've done everything you could, stood as long as you could, trying to believe something's going to change because something really has got to change. The situation is not sustainable at all anymore. And you're hanging in there just because you happen to be really good at just surviving. You're tolerating what you really don't want to be tolerating anymore. But here again, you've done everything you can within the scope of your control, and you just really need God to show up. Fear is setting in, and you're wondering, will God show up? My friend, I want to encourage you with this. When I was in a horribly deep, very dark pit, and I felt this epiphany come over me when I cried out to God. This epiphany was undeniably God, and it saved my life. The devil is a liar, which means that dark, negative narrative in your head, the one that spirals you down into that pit of despair, is actually your gleaming indication that the opposite is true. Flip the narrative in your head and consider this. What if God's not only not forgotten you, not turned his back on you, and not mad at you, but ferociously in love with you and holding you in a safe space underneath an exclusive covering, preparing the way for you to walk boldly in the power and authority he has given you to take dominion over the area he's called you to fulfill his higher plan and purpose for your life? What if your calling is so great and so large, you're going to need a level of faith large enough to carry it? What if he's enlarging your faith because the level of faith you're called to operate in is the same level of faith that takes down strongholds and sends the enemy running? What if the level of faith you are called to operate in is the same level of faith that produces miracles when you pray? When you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts to God. What if God is allowing you to be faced with all odds stacked against you? To build up the powerhouse faith, you need to discern truth from a lie, even when those lies are so overwhelmingly convincing to believe. It's desolate and lonely, and there is not a reason in the natural realm of things to believe. What if God is allowing you to face all of that for you to develop the kind of faith that will lead you to the greatest power you have access to, the power to make the enemy run, the power to shift reality by a landslide, God's truth? My friend, the truth will set you free. If any of this resonates, pray with me this next video.